Good morning, this is Alamon, and welcome back to Kerbageddon Science Incorporated, Episode 2. On our last episode, we got this base started. We have a living quarters core, we have a science lab, and you'll notice we have some solar panels that are floating away. Yeah, I left the game unpaused and stepped away for a few minutes, and when I came back, those solar panels were just kind of floating around, and I don't have recording of that actually happening, but I turned on fraps pretty quickly, just to at least catch that little weird shot. So we're getting some buggy stuff going on Gilly. Well, here we have another launch. So far, again, we have our living quarters, which includes all of our life support stuff. We have, well, some solar panels left. Those weren't the first ones that we had lost. And we also stuck on a science lab. So the next step is to attach some fuel to the base, so that we can refuel our asteroid tugs. And I decided, because it is Gilly, we're going to use a lot of ion engines in this series. So what we basically have attached to that rocket, well, no longer attached, is a couple nice big tanks of xenon. And the TweakScale mod, you know, I have to admit, at first I thought the TweakScale was just kind of a gimmick, a way to make, you know, funny looking rockets and stuff like that. But actually, especially for something like Xenon, where in stock you only have one size, I found it very useful to just scale that up to, I think, yeah, this must be 2.5 meter size, stacked two on top of each other. And suddenly you have just exponentially more Xenon with a part count of 2 for those tanks, rather than trying to stack a, you know, like a big pyramid of the stock size tanks. So it's actually really useful mod, so I really recommend it. And here we are on approach. Now this time I actually did put RCS facing in all 3 dimensions. So instead of just having it radiate out from the core there, we also have RCS that can point forward, can point backward, so we can control our speed much easier. Although one thing, I have the docking alignment indicator mod installed. I think that's Navyfish who did that, which is one of my very favorite little mods. I was wondering why it wasn't working, and I belatedly remembered after recording all of this that I just had not clicked the button in the toolbar at the top right. I'm so used to it just popping up whenever you need it and not appearing whenever you don't need it that you know, I guess on this fresh installation, I just had never enabled it. So that caused a little bit of extra annoyance. Alright, we're going to get a little aerial perspective of the base here. Alright, time to slow down. Uh-oh, that doesn't look good. Nope. That was weird. Okay, so is the mission ruined? What's going on here? Well, we still have control. And we still have a docking port. And the Xenon was in the middle, so that's still intact. And it looks like on the back, yeah, we just have the secondary RCS unit. So our RCS is even still balanced. So we lost a little bit from the other end of the ship, but we have just enough left to still have a functional module here. So that was exceptionally lucky. If we had been facing the other direction, this would no longer be alive. It would have lost its control capabilities. And now we have to make sure that our ship is oriented the right way so that the landing legs will be able to deploy and face the correct direction. So that's why we had to flip on our side here. And this is actually a much rougher docking than the one that we had in the last episode, despite the fact that I actually had much better RCS. Alright, so let's deploy those legs, because I forgot to do it you know, en route. And it's time to tether that down. We don't want anything flying away like those solar panels did. So we grabbed a ground pylon, again from the Kerbal Attachment System mod. And that dialog box got in the way at first. Grab another radial attachment port. And there we go. We're all linked up. So I thought, yeah, I was just going to mess around a little bit. Get a nice close-up. And I had not noticed before how the stars fill up the visor. That must be part of the visual enhancements mod that I have installed. Just gorgeous. So it's looking like it's in pretty good shape so far. Now, I really like the launcher I've been using, but this next ship didn't require nearly as much. Let me rephrase that. It's not nearly as heavy as the other things I've been launching, so I decided to just throw together a different launcher. I mean, we're not playing career mode. We don't have money to worry about. But I also thought that that was one of the more bizarre stagings that I've ever seen. So I wanted to include that in the video. Yeah, if you know much about the inner workings of the game, you can see that I'm using what is basically an exploit in the design of this tug. Well, first of all, the solar panels, I use TweakScale to pull those down a little notch. So they're a bit smaller than the stock ones. But yeah, on that ion tug, so, you know, there are two kinds of batteries in Kerbal Space Program. There are the disc-shaped ones that, you know, click into space, or into place in line with your rocket. And then there are the ones that you just mount on the outside that are kind of blocky looking. It turns out that the ones that you mount around the outside radially, the blocky looking ones, despite the fact that the VAB says that they have mass is actually not calculated on them. They're a physics-less part in-game. So, like I said, this is essentially an exploit. By just slapping those on every spare square centimeter of the ion tug, I'm able to get a huge storage of electrical power while still keeping it very, very lightweight. And we're running really low on liquid fuel now, but of course we still have oodles of Delta V, thanks to all of the ion engines. So there's Gilly. And we actually get some pretty decent acceleration out of those engines. I mean, it's less than a G, but still not bad at all. Now, unfortunately, our base was on the night side of Gilly as the probe approached. Not as great for video, unfortunately. But the sun still catches it a bit, thanks to just glitches with the horizon. So we come in, and this is of course all sped up a great deal from real time. I love how quickly it can turn. I mean, it really is capable of some incredible acrobatics. I needed to make sure that it had a lot of torque so that it can move asteroids around. Alright, let's get the sun up. So now I thought this would be a great time to test refueling. It still has plenty of fuel, but we may as well, you know, if we have the fuel in storage, we may as well put it into the probe. Now, it's hard to find a place, really. There was just a little tiny space below that battery. Ah, yes, so that was actually kind of put in the wrong place. That was attached to an RCS thing. I forgot that that was still on the end. I was thinking I was attaching directly to a xenon tank. But as it is, I never really got it, working so that I could pump xenon from one to the other. I'm not sure if that's actually supported in Kerbal attachment system. So what I had to do instead, well, what I'm in the process of doing is first of all attaching it to the xenon tank, which is what we wanted in the first place. And look at all that jiggling going on. It's exaggerated a little bit because this is sped up. But still, there's no SAS on. We have the landing legs deployed that, should sync to, kind of the perfect level, get lots of stability. But we're not getting that. It's just jiggling around. So anyway, yeah, what I eventually did was just use the, shift right-click method because they count as docked, I guess, once they have the fuel line connected. So we were able to just transfer manually that way. Yeah, microgravity environments are no joke. Just a little slip on the ladder sent him flying. Alright, now we are identifying the first asteroid that we're going to grab. This one happens to be pretty close to us, and on an orbit that takes it relatively close to the base as well, so it's a good target for our first foray up into the asteroid swarm. So that was stock speed, so you can see how quickly this is able to rotate. And, as like I said, how decent this acceleration is, at least for the Gilly environment. Now, we're already on an escape trajectory. It takes very little to get one when it comes to Gilly. But that's just to intercept this asteroid. So now it's time to slow down. And you may be noticing this theme of me completely overshooting things in this episode. But that's okay. Let's speed up time a little bit. And let's, arm the grabber claw. I'd forgotten to do that earlier. Now we're on for a nice, easy approach. We definitely don't want to smack into that rock. And I didn't look at the size class of this asteroid when I selected it as a target, but it's actually really quite big. So maybe, it wasn't the best choice after all for our very first asteroid retrieval mission. But I'm not going to switch targets now. We'll give it our best shot. Alright, so now move in nice and carefully. Again, this is sped up here. But now we're in normal time. Just a... Oh, look at that shift in the center of mass. Yeah, so the weight of that ion tug is negligible compared to the asteroid. So then I was making sure the claw was in all the right settings and so on and so forth. Now, although I targeted the center of mass, it is a little bit off the center of mass. Not terribly, but enough that the reaction wheels can't keep the flight path straight if I throttle up the whole way. But yeah, you can see with all the extra reaction wheels that we piled on there, we are at least able to turn the asteroid without too much trouble. It's still, it's very sluggish, but it's workable. It's workable. Yeah, for as big as that asteroid looks, it's still just a pebble compared to Gilly. And then, of course, Gilly is just a tiny pebble compared to Kerbal, so I think it's a nice little exercise in, being able to better visualize the kind of scales of magnitude. I guess it would have been nice to have a Kerbal on the retrieval mission, but I didn't really want to waste the mass, and then you need life support. You need to be absolutely sure that you have reliable electricity. Just a bunch of extra nonsense that I didn't feel like dealing with, especially when the retrieval missions are very quick anyway. So we can just imagine that it's being remote controlled from the asteroid base. And here we come over the horizon. Now we're slowing down. I have been making a conscious effort to try not to move the camera too much while I'm playing, because especially once things are sped up to 4 times speed, it can turn into just a jerky mess. But sometimes I am a little more conscientious than other times when it comes to camera movements. Alright, so we are a little bit off from the base, but we didn't really overshoot it. The aim was just a little bit off. And I think that that's actually probably due to the rotation of Gilly. I think it just rotated under us enough in the meantime, while we were on approach, that's what deflected that by however many couple dozen meters. But yeah, I'm really happy with how well we're able to, move this asteroid around and get it to go where we want it to go. And Gilly, of course, is the most forgiving place to do this sort of thing. I'm not sure I can even imagine trying to keep an asteroid under control, except maybe with parachutes, if you were, around Kerbal. I'm sure that people have done it, built rockets that incorporate an asteroid just for the hell of it, but that would be tough and very frustrating. That's not to say that we won't be taking some of these back to Kerbal. We'll kind of have to see. Alright, so now we are starting to cancel out our horizontal velocity because we look like we're in a pretty good location relative to the base. And now it's just a matter of having a nice, slow, controlled descent. It's kind of a shame that, everything on Gilly happens so slowly, even when you're sped up, but I think that this still just looks magnificent. Jebediah is down there, controlling this probe, trying to make sure that he doesn't end up with a giant rock squishing him. Which I, for one, think is a very laudable goal. I mean, I don't want any rocks squishing me, really. But here we come in on our final approach, and it's clear that they have no idea what is in store for them. And unfortunately, you're not going to know that until next week, too. There's some weird stuff that goes down, and I want to make sure that it all sticks together in one episode. So we're going to leave it off here. Hope to see you soon. Good night, sleep tight, and don't let the Kraken bite. Bye-bye.